when you start understanding that you have the power within yourself, that you are the one that is responsible for your healing journey, and I'm not the person I am today with the understanding I have today, with the acknowledgement I have today, if I haven't gone through any of that. But there was a reason bigger than me. There's a purpose bigger than me and bigger than the situation I went through.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
I
talk to
want to
Jiji
show up
now.
as Gigi, the
Okay.
authentic. Yes. When you're healing, there's nothing comfortable about it.
Welcome back to the Healing Train. What a journey it's been. Last season was full of truth, tears, breakthroughs, and deep connection. Thank you for showing up, for listening, and for being brave enough to heal with me. This season, we're going even deeper. Expect raw, honest conversations with guests from around the world. Survivors, experts, healers, each bringing powerful stories and wisdom to remind you you're not alone and your healing matters. If you're carrying pain, confusion, or questions that feel too heavy to hold on your own, this space is for you. Take a breath, come as you are, and know this: healing isn't always pretty, but it's always worth it. And together, we'll keep moving, one stop at a time. So hop back on and let's ride. And we're beginning season 2 with a bang. The sponsor of our show herself is with us today, Judith Diaz. Judith is a multifaceted individual who wears many hats with grace and passion. As a personal development consultant, international speaker, and award-winning author, she has dedicated her life to helping individuals unlock their full potential and live their best lives. Her unique blend of empathy, wisdom, and practical guidance has empowered countless individuals to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals. Judith is also a talented artist, using various mediums to express her creativity and capture the essence of the human experience. Her artwork, showcased in galleries, has touched the hearts of many. As a youth advocate, she is deeply committed to making a positive impact on the younger generation. Through mentoring, workshops, and speaking engagements, she inspires young minds to dream big, embrace their uniqueness, and make a difference in the world. Judith Diaz is a beacon of inspiration, embodying what it means to live a purposeful and fulfilling life. And I'm so excited to have Judith with me on this talk today. Judith, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm actually very excited about this. You are the official sponsor of the Healing Train podcast, and I thank you with all my heart for being that voice to kind of say, yes, I approve and agree with Ranya's message, and you believed in me. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this is an incredible thing that you're doing, and I'm all for it.
Thank you. I'm going to start with something you said that you wrote on a Facebook post a while back, and it really touched me. In the journey of life, challenges may seem large and the path may seem daunting. But remember this: every step you take is a testament to your resilience. No matter how hard things may seem, keep going, keep fighting, and keep moving forward. Embrace your purpose with an open heart and unwavering determination. You have one life to live. What do you want that life to be? What mission do you wish to pursue? And what legacy do you hope to leave behind? These were some powerful words you wrote one day as you felt called, I am sure. And with that, I'd like for us to begin from here about your journey that probably included overcoming traumas, challenges that maybe no one knew about. And it required you to do some deep work to healing your pain that probably no one can imagine. Judith, can you share briefly your journey, the background story to having you right here sitting with me, having this heart-to-heart conversation?
Absolutely. I come from a very, like you said, traumatic background. We're talking about physical abuse, sexual assault, suicidal thoughts, and just that verbal abuse. So, as a little girl, I always had the concept that I wasn't enough. And I grew up like that. In my teenage life, was very rebellious, was very angry at life, but I didn't understand any of it. I didn't have the knowledge, or no one told me the knowledge of understanding what emotion looked like on me. So I was just angry, and I thought that was normal. I thought that being angry and fighting all the time, and um answering and not caring about people's opinion, that was what life was. I self-harmed myself a lot. Verbal abuse was big. And if I allowed it today, would have continued to be that way. But overall, my background comes from generations and of normalizing that toxic behavior is okay. That sexual abuse in your family, that's okay. We keep secrets quiet. So that's pretty much my background and where I come from.
Mm,
And today I could see me being totally a different person. And that was a journey itself.
mhm, mhm. Thank you for, of course, for sharing these vulnerable details about your life. It's not easy to talk about them. And as you know, when we're healing, it comes up. And it comes up because we are using what happened, the events that unfolded in our lives to help others. That's
Mhm.
what we're here doing it for. You've openly shared that your childhood was marked by abuse and toxic relationships. How did those early experiences, you would say, shaped who you are today, both as a woman and as a youth advocate, which is what you do?
Yes. Imagine, I'm going to explain it this way so the audience could also understand.
Mm,
Imagine being a little girl, and we're like sponges. We take everything in, everything we learn. Um, so by being physically abused, I knew how to read a room from a very young age
mm,
because I didn't know how, um, you know, my father, my sister, whoever it was at that moment that was going to be either verbal or physical abuse or anything, I needed to learn at a very early age how to read a room.
mm,
And that has been one of my biggest tools today as a teen advocate and working with teens, that I could read a body language as quick as that. Of course, when you're young and you're growing up, you don't understand that. You're like, why am I going through this? You
mm,
start questioning yourself, am I not enough?
mm,
And that was me all my youth, all my it in the sense of understanding the process, because while you're going through the process and while you're going through this abuse and while you're going through that, you don't understand none of it.
mm,
You become this victim of this pain that people have put on you,
mhm,
right? Have brought toward you, but it's not something that you know. And
mm,
it's not something that I was able to identify at all. But after the healing journey, after the path of choosing myself, then comes the understanding of, oh, so I went through this to do this today. I
mm,
have the ability right now to change people's lives because of what I've been through. I wouldn't have been, and I not the person I am today with the understanding I have today, with
mm,
the acknowledgement I have today, if I haven't gone through any of that. I wouldn't be the advocate I am for the teens or working with teens like I do on a one-on-one basis.
mm. You're kind of becoming that support that you wish you had when you were in that situation. And that's what you're trying to do now, right? And you're able to understand where they're coming from. So it's coming from a place of non-judgment. It's just love and compassion. right? You understand possibly what they're feeling, not 100% because every situation is different, of
Absolutely.
course, but you relate. You can relate and you understand they're like they have these walls around them or they're behaving in this way, they're being defensive because they're going through something deep and now it's your turn to help them walk through it and move forward. And it's great work. It's great work that you're doing. It makes us feel that what we went through was not in vain, right? That's what I'd
Exactly.
like to say. It was
And
not.
not only that, it also helps my that child that went through that. It also helps me heal because once you start
Mm,
working on yourself and healing, you're not fully healed. There's going to be triggers. There's going to be different occasions and situations that are going to do that. But imagine me questioning all my life, why am I going through this?
mm,
Why me? Why can my father love me? Or
mhm,
why didn't my mother protect me? Or why didn't, putting the blame on everybody else, because that's also a part of the healing process, right? Where you start saying, wait, where were you? Or where were
mhm,
you? Why did you do this? Why did you do that?
mhm,
But imagine going through all that and saying, well, now I could put it to use. You know what? I went through that, but there was a reason bigger than me. There's a purpose bigger than me and bigger than the situation I went through. Because through that process comes breaking toxic
mhm,
um behaviors and breaking generational curses that
mhm,
we generation through generation starts carrying. So it's a bittersweet, of course, that child is like, why did I go through this? Like, whoa. But this adult is saying, well, I am who I am because everything I've been through.
mhm, mhm,
So there's a form and a lack of, there's a form of appreciation of it when
mhm.
you see the power that you have and the things that you're doing to shape our new generation, right?
Right.
Our teens, our leaders, and that's a power that came with pain,
Mhm, mhm.
So it's like you appreciate it as an adult, but yet you despise it as a kid.
I totally get you. Oh my God, like you and I connect so much and we can relate. And as you're speaking, I recall something that I read in The Course in Miracles. I'm not sure if you read that book, but A Course in Miracles says you learn what you teach. I don't know if I'm saying it exactly how it was written, but it's around that as we are teaching, we are learning. Sometimes I don't realize the things that I know or I think I know. And it happens in these moments when I'm with a client or when I'm on the stage sometimes and it comes out in as I'm speaking. And I'm like, I didn't know I knew that, right? But it's coming from that inner place, right? As you're healing, you've grown, you've evolved. So you end up trying to help others through it. And then it clicks in your head that, oh, I guess that's for me too. Right. For example, I mean, with you helping teens, you may be able to pinpoint an area where they're probably misunderstanding or victimizing themselves or blaming others around them. So as you are opening their eyes to what they're not seeing, to help them in their healing, right? And to find who they are and to take their power back. You're helping them maybe to forgive those who weren't there for them and to understand that everyone is always doing the best that they can with what they know at that moment. And that helps the person you're working with to take that power back, right? But imagine while you're doing that, it hits for you too. Then you start to think, well, maybe my father was like this because that's all he knew. And maybe my mother was like this because that's all she knew. So it's easier to help others with it because you see it clearly and you're not emotionally attached to the situation. But it's, I'm not saying it's not possible, but it's hard for us to see it when we're healing our own wounds, right?
Absolutely.
But then when you're helping others, so there you are, you're teaching it and you're learning it. And it
Hmm.
helps you in your own healing as well.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Having said that, Judith, many survivors of any kind of abuse, they struggle with releasing the past. Okay. How how do you learn to stop identifying with the trauma and start rewriting your story, let's say, from a place of strength and power? How do we do that?
By allowing yourself um, to understand that you are no longer that person,
Mm,
by allowing yourself to understand that you are no longer that little girl,
mm,
that you are the person you are today, living today, presently today,
mm,
and you have that power today, and you need to and always visit that person that was abuse, that was allowing yourself to feel the emotions you need to feel. Because if one thing I was good at that time was surviving,
mm, mm,
numbing myself and surviving, because I didn't allow myself to have the correct time to sit on the sadness anymore, to sit on the angriness, or the questioning myself. I didn't allow myself to do that. I allowed myself that tomorrow I'm going to wake up, I'm going to survive, I'm going to shape my life, I'm going to shape. And then you start realizing that you're creating the same patterns,
mm, mm,
and you start falling, you know, and tripping over the same rock over and
mm.
over again,
You're going in
and you're like,
circles.
and you're going in circles, and you're like, why this is happening to me? That was my biggest thing.
Yeah.
Why this is happening to me? I became this whole victim of myself. Why this is happening to me? Like, life is cruel. Life doesn't want me. Life doesn't this. My parents didn't. And but you start realizing that I am not that child no more. I
Mm,
have the power and the ability to shape my life how I want it. If I don't like my job, or I don't like my situation, I have the power to get up and walk away. If I don't like what someone is saying to me, or it's verbally abusing me, I have the power to get up now and walk away and not tolerate it.
mm,
When you start understanding that you have the power within yourself, that you are the one that is responsible for your healing journey, not
mm,
your parents, not their forgiveness, not your sisters, not your brother, not the friend, not the person that bullied you, not know that you have the power within yourself to start healing yourself. What is it that you want for yourself today?
mm,
And what is it that you want for that child that went through that?
mm,
So now you have the powers to say the correct and the right words that you needed to hear. You needed to hear at that moment. So go back to that child and remind that child, and tell that child how she is safe, and tell that child how she is loved and appreciated. And that's something easier said than done,
mm,
because I could stay here and I could say, hey, the healing process and everything, but you will have to undo yourself, be
mm,
the most vulnerable you could ever be, and relearn yourself. Because when you start healing, that old version of yourself doesn't no longer exist. It's like grieving yourself, is grieving that little girl. You got to let go of that old past and that version of yourself. Let it go and grieving. And that's what healing is. Healing is grieving, letting go of what happened to you, letting go and understanding that you had no power at that moment if you was a little girl. But what has that shaped you to become today? What have you learned from it today? Because it's easy to dwell on that. It's easy. And I stood there for years. My healing journey started in my late 20s, early 30s. So I'm starting with teens that are teens now.
mm,
So I started later in life. So, but imagine if you could teach someone and teach a teen to say, hey, whatever you're going through, it's okay. It's fine. Okay. Now, what is it that you need to do within yourself right now? What
mhm,
is it? You need to be angry. Let's be angry. Because sometimes not allowing ourselves to feel the emotions that we are actually going through,
mm,
then we're going to have to deal with them later on in life, because there's going to be triggers, and then you're going to receive the same cycle. But when you start understanding that it starts here within our shapes, that we do have voices, that we could speak, because that's why my company's called Say It Out Loud Jiji,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just to remind myself that I have a voice to say it out loud,
Mm-hmm.
that no one could ever quiet me and say, what you say doesn't matter. That was the biggest thing. Well, I don't care what you say. What you say doesn't matter. You're a child. Stay in the child's place. But no, you have a voice. And it's important to know that voice you have, and surround yourself with people that are going to advocate for you. That's why I'm an advocator for teens, for sure. And it's not about, changing anyone. It's
Mm-hmm.
about shaping within yourself what you want to become when you have the power to continue on with your life, because you're always going to have to heal something. And I'm learning that now in my 40s. You're going to always have to heal something in your life. Something's going to happen that's going to hurt you, and you're going to have to learn how to address it and learn how to sit with those emotions and understand it and process it. So that's something that we're going to do probably until the day we're no longer here. But one thing that I am understanding is that you could shape your mindset, and you could shape those emotions to when you have that power, when you turn 18, when you start that, when you start saying, let me see someone because I want to heal. That's the power that you have. And that's what I remind them, that they could always hold on to and grab and never let go.
That's why I love the work that you do, Judith, because I think it's very important to start from a younger age. We didn't have this growing up in our generation, right? But you're now doing something so different. You're providing the foundation. What you're describing right here with me right now is that you are providing the foundation to these individuals who are troubled in some way and are coming to speak with you, and you guide them through it, or whether you're standing on stage and you're talking to many, right? Whether they're troubled or non-troubled, you're providing them with tools, with practical strategies that to help them go within. Again, something we were never taught, right? We were taught to get over it. We were taught not to make a big deal out of it. We were told that we were exaggerating, that our emotions or our feelings didn't really matter because we were wrong thinking that way to begin with. So how dare we feel what we feel, like as if it was a wrong thing to do. And here you are doing the exact opposite, saying, acknowledge it, feel it. What do you feel inside? You are giving that proper foundation. In a way, you're doing part of parenting. In a way, you're a mom and you understand what parenting is about, and that's what you're doing with your kids now. You're giving them that foundation without thinking about it. You're allowing them to feel their feelings and to express themselves and to say what they want. And with some of these teens, we don't know what their scenarios are. We don't know what kind of, households they are living in, and we're not here to judge that. But what we're trying to say here is that that foundation that they build on as they get older and as they go through life, letting them know to expect triggers to come up, letting them know that to expect challenges and letdowns and disappointments and for feelings to come up. But now that they have the tools, they can always go back to it. Will they become astray at times and get caught up in life? Absolutely. We all do. Even, you and I do this work and we can get caught up, right? But we can always come back to the tools that we now have learned that no one can take away from us. Because once you learn that, once you have your toolbox with all your tools in them,
Mhm.
they're there for life, right? And that's why I love the work that you do. There's something you mentioned when you were speaking earlier, and you talked about forgiveness, Judith. And that's a subject I talk about almost not in every episode, but in when it warrants, I talk about that because it's a subject that is misunderstood of what is forgiveness, and is it a must that you have to forgive, and what do you do after you forgive? Let's unpack that, if you may. And I want to ask, how did that journey of forgiveness work with you?
Loving yourself. When you understand what love is, what loving someone really is, I always say it starts within yourself. So when I started unpacking on forgiveness and what that looked like to me, it was more of loving myself enough to understand that I didn't need to carry that anger. Like I don't want it no more,
Mm,
and give it to whoever it belongs to. That means the creator of it, right? The creator that created, but you created that emotion. We think that the person that harmed us created that anger.
mm.
We created the anger
Oh, I
because it's
love that.
our emotions. It's
Hmm.
our emotions.
Hmm.
They did an action that reacted to our emotions.
Hmm.
And that's a power that I have. So when I knew and understood that loving me comes first, I start letting go. And letting go could look in a lot of different ways. I wrote angry letters to everyone who did anything to me. I wrote love letters to those who did harm to me,
Mm,
because there is a part where I love my father. Was he physically abusive? Absolutely. Did he ever tell me he loved me? Never. But there's that little girl that loves him. So I honor that. And I didn't dismiss that and say, you can't love someone that does that to you. No, you could hate him. Absolutely.
mm,
But you also love him.
mm,
Because to understand someone is to understand their past. To understand me is to understand everything I've been through. To understand who my father is, who my mother is, who uh, my sexually assault, who my uncle was. I
mm,
needed to understand where they came from, what knowledge did they have, what knowledge that they didn't allow themselves to have, what generations did they not break,
mhm,
and and to understand them gave me a little bit of clarity that, well, of course my father could never say he loved me because he doesn't love himself.
mhm, mhm,
How can he say or do something that he doesn't? But at the same time, that just gave me the acknowledgement I needed. That's it. It didn't matter if he does or doesn't or do, because that's his life. Now I'm talking about my emotions. I just loved myself enough to understand that I needed this information to work on myself, to let things go. And did it help me understand his past? It did. To help let go of that, to let go of that emotion that I created towards him, because that's what it is. Forgiveness is within yourself. You
mm,
need to love yourself enough to see yourself enough, to honor yourself enough to say, I let go of anything that is bounding me,
mhm,
to sit in this dwelling dark place that I no longer want to be in.
mm,
One thing that you have to really know and understand is that you no longer want it. Once you no longer want it, that is the key to the door, to open that door. And from there, there's just a world of possibilities on how you're going to heal
mhm,
and what forgiveness look like.
mm,
If forgiveness look like letting out a balloon and just pretending that once you let it go,
mm,
imagine it, that you're letting go of that problem and the balloon is going up in the air and you just letting that go. If that's what it looks like to you, that's what it looks like. If it looks like a letter, that's what it looks like. Anything that you need to do for yourself to let it go, to forgive. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to the person, or the person you have to hear it from the person, because it has nothing to do with the person that did anything to you. It has to do with you and serving yourself to say, I know that no longer belongs to me
mm,
as who I am today. And that's what forgiveness looks like to me. So anytime anybody asks me what forgiveness is, self-love.
mm,
Because once you know that self-love, I no longer want anything that it's going to harm or take away from the person I am.
mm,
And that's it. Who are you? And that's in my first program, right? Who are you? Because you're going to be yourself in different versions.
mm,
Every stage of your life, you're going to be a whole different version of yourself.
mm, mm,
you know so what serves you and what doesn't serve you, and what doesn't serve you, you forgive it. You let it go. Write it a letter, do a ritual, whatever helps you to let it go without expecting the other person to ask for that. If it comes, it comes. You celebrate it. You celebrate because that means that that person is evolving. That person recognizes something, and we want to celebrate those wins. But those wins have nothing to do with us. It has to do with them. We want to celebrate our own wins. It has to do with ourselves and what we're letting go.
I am so touched by that explanation of forgiveness. You had me mesmerized there listening to you. Thank you. It just, the way you articulated it, it's just perfect. And I hope whoever's listening to us right now or watching us can touch them and help them in their journey of healing, in their journey of forgiveness. But something I do want to touch on from my perspective as well, to add on to what you're saying, is do this when you're ready. There is no timeline. There is no, you have to do this, because sometimes there's external factors that people, okay, are going to be giving you advice and say, just forgive and let it go. They mean well. They just don't understand the process themselves. So that's where they're coming from. They can only give you advice as far as how they've met themselves, the level at that they've met themselves, right? So understand where the advice is coming from. So if you're on a different path, take the advice with love, but do what's comfortable for you now. If it feels hard to go down that path, take your time with it. There is no you must. There is no you have to. There is something wrong with you if you aren't forgiving. It's not supposed to be a blame and shame game here, right? Forgive when you're ready in the way that you're ready. Use different tools. You can connect with Judith and see if she got some tools in her toolbox about how to forgive. And that was just beautiful. The next thing I want to discuss is when we're in the middle of our deep pain and chaos, as many of us are, what can we do to help us keep going? Like, for example, with you, what helped you? What rituals? Because you're talking about some rituals and tools and mindsets. And you mentioned a few tools about writing letters and letting the balloon go. I love that. But anything else you might share that what we can do, other than forgiveness, of course, is beyond forgiveness. Just when
Mhm.
we're in the middle of pain and chaos, what kind of mindset shifts can we do?
I was a runner. I'm going to run for my emotions. I'm going to run for the situation. I don't want to deal with this situation. I don't want to, so if you're that kind of personality, what like, I don't have time for that. I'm going to deal with that later. Like, suck it up. Let's continue. If you're that kind of mindset, one of the biggest tools for me
Mm,
was to allow myself to sit on the emotion.
mm.
And I would have tantrums. I mean, I'm talking about early 30s tantrum. Like if I was having that 5, 6 year old tantrum.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yes. I mean, hitting my bed angry because I didn't know. I didn't know how to deal with the emotion. This was new. I'm allowing myself to feel it.
Mm.
And I wasn't ashamed of it. I was a part of it. Of course, I didn't want anybody to see me. So I would go in the room
Close
and
your
just,
door.
yeah, close my door and go,
Hit the pillow.
the ugly cry, snobs, and just,
Ah,
but after I allowed myself to feel it, then
yeah,
I was like exhausted,
yeah,
took a nap,
yeah,
woke up, and I was like, oh, that's all I needed.
yeah,
Oh, wow, what a liberation. So if
yeah.
that helps you, if that's something that you need to do, close that door and say, I'm going to sit here until I allow myself to feel that because when we're not used to feeling these emotions, remember, anything new is scary.
Yeah.
We don't know, and we're not taught how to deal with our emotions
Mm-mm.
and how to regulate our emotions and how to say, it's okay. Cry if you need to cry. It's okay. Hold the pillow as tight. This is what I tell my teens. Hold the pillow as tight. When you're angry and you're frustrated, hold it. Put that energy in there. Release that
Oh,
energy
hello.
that you
Oh,
need
hello.
to. Because once you let it go, it's gonna be like oh, okay.
Mm,
Because it's a moment. Emotions come and of waves of moments. It's a
absolutely.
moment. So allow yourself to feel that moment. Allow yourself. And if you're a person that allow and that sits on your emotions, then write exactly what you're feeling,
Mm,
exactly what triggered you to get there. What did that person say? exactly, that got you to that state of mind or that emotional or that sadness or that angriness or that frustration.
Mhm.
It's identifying what caused that emotion,
Mm.
because that's a power that once you master, you're going to know. And you're going to know when you walk in the room, you're going to know if you belong, if you should and shouldn't be there.
Mm.
And that's a power that you cultivate. And that's a quality of life that you are allowing yourself to live.
Mm.
So when you're in the midst of that, when you're in the midst of that pain, when you're in the midst of that frustration, when you're in the midst of what do I do with all this? If you want to put it to the side, go ahead, because it's when your timing, like you said, it's your timing.
Mhm.
But I challenge you, when you're in that, allow yourself to sit on it just for a little bit, because sometimes the pains are hard to bear.
Mm.
But if we allow ourselves just a little at a time, we're going to see that we're surviving every moment, because it's a moment, it's a feeling, and it's a power that you cultivate until you master those emotions, until you understand that you have the power to regulate your emotions, because it doesn't matter what anybody tells us.
Mm.
It doesn't, they could offend us, they could do, but you have the power to know how you want to feel about it, not them, you. And once you understand that and sit on that, it's going to be, every day is going to get easier, e- easier. Every time it's going to get easier. It's not an easy journey, but it's like something, if you keep tapping, and at first it hurts and it's going to bother you and you're like, oh, but once it keeps going, it's the same way they program us, right? They program us even in schools. And I say, our parents, we got to listen and follow direction.
Mhm.
We don't have a voice. You have to sit there quietly. And
Mm.
we're programmed to do that. And we understand that. Imagine, then program yourself to what you want to become,
Mm.
to what your emotions want to become. And I always say that's a power that you have. It's just the tools. There goes the toolbox. The toolbox. Somebody says something that offends you, you have the power. How are you going to take it? It's a reflection of them, first of all. You have to understand that. And second, you could probably just have sympathy for them to understand, wow, they feeling this way, because there's no moment that you are feeling that way, because you have to think that how did you feel before receiving that information, and that emotion shouldn't change because someone said something, because it's their words, not yours.
Mm. 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 Love that. Love that. And I want to add on to something to what you just said is when we're feeling our emotions. For example, you mentioned the word anger because we all do feel angry, right? I want to do a small little shift here, okay? Many of us say, I am angry. But the thing is, you are not angry. You feel anger. So instead of saying, I am, because whatever follows the I am, you're manifesting it to become who you are. You are not anger. You are not angry. You feel angry. So switch your language with yourself. Switch the I am to I feel. Because in the next moment, like Judah just said, it's just moments, you can feel angry now, and then you can feel calmer, and then you can feel more relaxed, and then you can feel happy, and then you can feel joyful. It's the feeling, right? And if you're ever going to say I am, let it be a positive word after the I am, because you are manifesting it into your being, into who you are. But separate who you are with your feelings and with your actions. They're two different things. It just came to me right now when we were speaking. I think it's very
Absolutely.
important to do that shift of the I
Mm-hmm.
am and the I feel.
Absolutely.
Judith, we've all been told lies growing up. Okay? They all take different shapes and forms, right? Being raised by whoever it is raising you at school. What are some of the biggest lies, or maybe one lie, that you had to unlearn about yourself in order to heal and rise into the woman you are today?
And this is going to be like a double sword, what I'm going to say.
A brief stop at a station. This show is proudly sponsored by Say It Out Loud Jiji, led by the inspiring Judith Diaz, an avid change maker and passionate advocate for speaking up and raising awareness. The Healing Train podcast is honored to have her support. Now let's get back to the show.
They told me, "Oh, you are your father's daughter." But when they said that, they said it in such a negative way that I grew up like that was offensive to me. You are your father's daughter. Why?
What does
Because
that
he's
even mean?
abusive. Exactly. What did that mean? To me, that little girl, and that I translate it as the abusive, the not caring, the not loving, because they said it such a negative way because I didn't understand it. When I first, I'm like, oh yeah, I am, yeah, I am his daughter. And then they kept saying it so much in such a negative way that I'm like, so what are they trying to say? So I made the assumption. I never asked. So I can't confirm nor deny. But the way I took it was, well, they're saying that because I'm actually being mean right now, So I started identifying that when I was mean, you're like, you're your father's daughter. So that's why they're saying it, because he's abusive, because he's this, because he's that. So I have to be that, right? So I grew up thinking that, like, oh, I look like my mom, but I'm my dad. And I used to say that. Well, I'm like my dad. I'm like my father. So I used to say it just like that, and just the so, and leave it like that. Whatever they wanted to add on to that, they could add it on into that. And that was the biggest lie. The biggest lie, but yet shaped me, because now I own that. Yes, I am my father's daughter. Absolutely. I have his DNA in me, and I have that. Because besides him being all the negative things, he also has good and positive things, and great things that I want to inherit, that I want to have qualities of, you know, and that was the biggest lie, yet the biggest truth. But it's how I switched it and how I'm able to understand it today, because people could have different perception of you, and they could tell you different lies. I would never amount to nothing. That was a huge big one. I was never, because of my mouth and because my rebellious, I would never amount to anything. And the truth is that was only their perception of what they thought I was going to be. It's to learn that now, and to understand that now, is to say that it didn't matter what they thought. It's what I thought of me. What I thought, because I did believe it at some point. So it's not what they were saying and how often they said it. The truth was, I believed it. And that is, once again, a power that I had to let go, a power that I thought that I had, right? Because if they said it, I have to believe it. So I am that. So I gave power to that. But I also owned it and switched up that power, because my father's a genius. Like, he is a very smart guy. He's an animal person, and he loves the animals with such love and such compassion. So he does have all these things that people for many years told me that he didn't have, that I believed that I believed that in myself, that I didn't have, and yet I might look like my mother, but I am such like my father, and I don't have to be his negative side of it. I could be his positive side. So I am, I am my father's daughter. I am. So with that, anybody that is out there and they're telling you you're ugly, you're insufficient, you're not enough, you're this, you're that, whatever they say doesn't matter. It's, what do you believe that you are? That's what matters. That's what matters. And when I started taking the power back and not allowing these people, and start questioning them, like, oh, you're your father's daughter. And I said, what does that look like? What does that mean? What does that mean? Because I'm not an abusive person. So I started I started identifying all the things that they identified me with, right? That he's abusive, he's mean, he's
Mm,
this.
mm,
I have a great heart, I have intention. So when you say that, what are you trying to say? What do you mean
mm,
with
mm.
that?
And you're saying it more inquisitively rather than defensively, right? So when someone would
Exactly.
make a comment like that, go, "Oh, that's interesting." In what way? With curiosity. And let
Yes.
them tell you what they really mean. And it could be something so positive. They're like, well, we've known him to be doing da 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 da, and
Mhm.
we see you doing the same thing. Like, let's just say perseverance or resilience. Like, we've known him to do this, 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 and now we're seeing you. And you're like, oh, thank you. There you go. It
Yes.
got turned into a compliment.
Exactly. The
Simple
biggest
shit.
lie that I never exactly. It was like, why
Simple
did you believe
shift.
that? Yes. Yes, it's the simple things. It's the simple knowledge that sometimes we need to just take a step back and just say, okay, don't be afraid to use that voice, to ask the question, to say, in what way? Because that could change that whole environment for
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
as you're going through your healing journey, as you're walking through and are starting to understand yourself and understanding your emotions. Don't be afraid to say, in what way? What do you mean by that? Because sometimes our perception of what we think they're saying, once again, that's that power within. It's your power. So, what perception do you want to have? I put the perception as negative. Really, was it negative? I never asked enough to ask to see what they were trying to say. I put that on myself.
Hmm.
And we need to pay attention to that. That sometimes the lies that are told to us, that sometimes we believe, or sometimes our perception as well. And it's very important to pay attention to those details and not dismissing that some of the things that people say are hurtful or not this, but once again, what's your perception of yourself?
Hmm. Hmm. And I mean, earlier we just said that the person may be meaning a compliment, right? And we
Hmm.
were assuming it was negative. But let's say, okay, in some cases, there are people who are not coming from a good place and they're seeing what they're seeing. It's their perspective and it's something negative rather than positive. Let's just use that scenario, okay? It was something that they want to point out to you that is, in their perception, negative. And they're comparing you to someone else, your mom, your dad. In your case, it's your dad, right? Even if it is a negative thing, and you've already asked in what way with curiosity, and here they are telling you that, I think the curiosity needs to continue as the response rather than react and defend and say, well, no, I'm not. Like, it's not
Hmm.
necessary to go there because that's coming from a place of, again, insecurity and not having your power. If you know who you are, it doesn't matter what someone else's think and their perception of you or how you look like someone or behave like someone. If that's their perception, that's their perception, right? So you would respond saying, interesting. I never really saw it that way, but okay, that's good to know. You're not identifying what someone said to you or how they are describing you or comparing you to someone else, positively or negatively. Of course, when it's positive, it can be very, joyful. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. And then
Yeah.
it becomes a laugh and a joke and then it continue on.
Hmm.
But when it's a negative one, you can shut it down. You can shut it down
Hmm.
without being
Absolutely.
reactive and without being defensive. You're going to put it back to the other person's perception, which is where it's coming from at the end of the day. It's their perception. They see that. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And end it right there. That's it. They can continue on and say, yeah, because blah, 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 blah. See, again, they're coming from a place where they're pushing the button because they're waiting for you to react, right? They want the old version of you back, but that's not who you are anymore, as you said, right? We move on. We're not the same person anymore because we're doing the healing. So you're like, yeah, I'm still not gonna respond. Okay, okay. Yeah, moving on now to the next subject. Kind of like that, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And Judith, I'll tell you, what we are discussing right now and all the tools and the tips and the strategies that we are sharing with our audience and our viewers is coming from a place where you and I have been on a healing journey ourselves, and that's why we can say what we're saying today. But if you and I were to take ourselves back to that old version of ourselves when we are living in victimhood, when we are pointing fingers, when we were reactive all the time. That's one thing I noticed about me for the longest time. And I recall even saying it to many of my friends, telling them, I've been working on myself, but I just need to work on that one thing. I'm reactive. I need to work on my reactiveness. I want to be able to be at a place where people are saying something to me and it's not just me verbally saying what I'm saying. The moment the words hit my ears and I feel the words in my body, I don't want it to affect me in that way where it used to affect me. And I think you can relate with what I'm saying right now, right? Because the words are so powerful. If you're not strong, done the work, have your foundation, got your toolbox, right? You're gonna react. You can't stop yourself from reacting because it's that split of a second where the word is said, it hits you, you react. There's no time. There's like, if you want to really talk about time, it all happens so fast. But when you're in the healing journey and when you have your foundation, you're going to hear the words, but it's not going to do that thing to you. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to process it again instantly. And you're going to say, okay, I get that that's what they think. But is that how I feel? And all that's going to happen instantly again. But now you're not reacting, you're now responding.
Mhm.
I wish like people could understand that, but the only way to understand it is to go through it and live it. You have to have lived the opposites to know exactly what I'm talking about. And you and I understand
Yes.
because we've been there and we've done it. And that's why we're teaching it and sharing it to let people understand that there is that shift. There is that shift when you've been doing the healing work. That you can be at a moment where someone is insulting you right in your face. And in an instant, you actually don't feel a thing. It really does nothing to you because that's how strong you are in your power, in who you are, and nothing can shake you. Right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And that's really deep and that's so real. And I want also the people to understand that even though you will be triggered, and even though that moment that you'd be like, well, I'm not there yet, right? Or I'm not, have grace with yourself because you will get there. You will get there, but you have to do the work. Healing is not saying, I'm healing.
Mm,
Healing is actually digging up,
mm,
what makes you uncomfortable.
mhm,
Because when you're healing, there's nothing comfortable about it. So if you feel comfortable, that means that now you have to dig a little deeper to see what makes you uncomfortable into what supposedly is supposed to make you uncomfortable doesn't make you uncomfortable no more because you have unpacked it all.
mm. Speaking of which, was there any point in your own healing journey that I know it's still ongoing, but if we were to go back, there was a particular point that actually was like, I don't want to be that person anymore. And from this point on, I'm going to be like this. Was there something that you want to share?
Yes. There was a time in my life that being in relationships, and when I say relationship, I don't have to be like just it could be a friendship relationship or
Mm,
any relationship. I was very harmful.
mm,
Like I would try to, you know, become this person that they wanted me to be,
mm,
right? And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand the people pleasing in me that I needed to become that at the end, when I realized that I didn't want it, I didn't know how to take myself out of the situation that I was very harmful
mm,
with it. Harmful, like what I, of what I knew, right? Because my life was harmful. My life was like, cut through the chase and that's it. There was no, so I did that.
mm,
And when I started understanding um and started taking accountability and responsibility of what I was doing, um, there was a part of my journey that I did go back to those people. And
Mm,
it wasn't, and I was open to understand that they could have said anything about me, but I was open because I acknowledged what I did,
mm,
and understanding that every relationship that I broke, whether it was a friendship or a love relationship, I was very harmful with it. And that's something that took me years to understand and also undo, because it was easier for me to get out of a relationship very harmfully, because that's all I knew and all I was comfortable with, that I didn't know how to have a conversation to actually save a relationship,
mm,
to understand that we could verbally communicate, and even though I don't like it, we could agree to disagree.
mm, mm,
And that's something that if I could tell anyone, to pay attention to your patterns, because sometimes we don't see them as patterns because we normalize them.
mm,
And that's something that I definitely wanted to share, because it was a big thing. When I say years, I'm talking about more than 6 years
mm,
working on that. And I kept making the same mistakes. And I'm like, and I was still working on it, and I'm like, I did it again. But the awareness part is what I celebrated,
mhm,
because now I understood that I did it again.
mhm,
So what can I do to make it better? Not for them, but also for myself, because
mm.
it's not good. What you put out there, the energy, you know, it does one way, shape, or form comes back,
Mm,
and that's something that I truly believe in. So I believe that, I'm not perfect,
mhm,
but if I could have the awareness to say, oh, I could have done that better. I apologize. I could have worked on that better. And it had to do with me, not with you. That is something to be proud of as well.
I can relate to you, Judith. I've been in those situations myself, and it took a lot for me to recognize that I actually messed up this one. And I went back and said, this was on me. I didn't know how to handle it. I was feeling this, and I reacted in this way, and I am sorry. You know, it takes a lot of courage. You give yourself a lot of grace, right? And it's the awareness. But something happens when you do that uncomfortable, confronting
Mhm.
yourself, admitting, and then apologizing and taking ownership. You really grow. It's like it's going a different place from that point on.
Breaking the layers off,
Yeah.
breaking those layers
Yes,
off.
yes, yes, yes. This brings me for us to talk about the work that you do. We've touched on it all throughout the episode about how you are a youth advocate and you have your business, Say It Out Loud Jiji, and you've written more than one book, I want to say. So let's talk about the work that you do beyond the healing journey. Like, what do you do and how you show up in the world today?
Oh, I show up as me, as Gigi, not even Judith. Judith Diaz is the
Okay.
professional name.
All right.
Okay.
Let's
I
talk to
want to
Gigi
show up
now.
as Gigi, the
Okay.
authentic. Yes, the authentic me. I like to have my hands on a lot of things. And before, I used to have the mindset that if you're running a business, it has to be this, it can't be anything else. It has to be this, because this is people. And I'm like, no, I am. This is my business. Now I have control of it. I don't work for nobody. I work for myself. What do I want to do? I want to be an artist. I paint. I
Mm,
want to sell jewelry because I love jewelry. I love accessories. Then sell jewelry. You want to be an author, be an author. You want to be an advocate, be an advocate. You want to be, what is it that you want to be? The sky's the limit,
mm,
you know. And that's how what I do today. I work with teens. I work with adults. I work volunteering for nonprofit. I am such a community person. I'm a huge community person. Um, I love to build great relationship, intentional great relationships, because now I know how to. I love being in different environments that challenge me. So as a professional, I work with, like I said, teens, but I also work with adults when it comes to personal development, setting goals. how to set your goals, how to have a successful business. Right now I have an office location, been 3 years of success. So, and everything I learn, I like to share. I
Mm.
always say the day I move forward or no longer in this earth, I don't want to keep none of it. None of that I learned, I want to share it, because if it could help someone evolve and help someone just become their better version of yourself. And that's what life is about. It's not perfection. It's not anything like that. It's what quality of life you want to live. I always say, the quality of your life is based on the attention you give it.
Mm.
So let's give ourselves the attentions we need, and become anything you want to be, and let your business be a reflection of what you are and who you are at whatever stage and versions you are, because there's no right or wrong answers when you're the boss.
Mm. Yes, boss. GG. Yes, I love you too. What's one message you wish every young person, especially ones who are experiencing trauma, could hear and believe today?
That it will be okay. No matter how hard that moment looks like and that situation looks like, it will be okay. It's only a matter of time before you have the power to grab your power back. And once you have that, know that there are people out there, like say it out loud, Jiji, like a lot of companies out there that are there, they're going to support you and are going to vouch for you. And healing is on you, not on anybody else. Your healing, your journey is your responsibility. And your healing journey starts and can start today by understanding where you are, at the place you are, at the stage you are in. And anything that you're going through, you matter. You matter enough to be here, to be living that situation, no matter how hard it seems, is going to shape you to be a better person tomorrow. Not a mindset of holding these grudges. No, not that. You have the power to convert this pain into purpose, into something great. The sky is the limit, and you are never alone. You are never alone, because there's someone out there that is advocating for you. There's someone out there that is praying for you. There's someone out there that thinks of you. So no matter how hard the situation may seem today, you matter. You matter. So hang on. Hang on, because you do matter.
Thank you for saying that. I think someone out there may benefit just from what you said right here. Thank you. I don't know whether to call you Judith or Gigi now, so I think we're on to Gigi. So let's stick to that. There's something I really want to bring up before we close our episode, our beautiful episode, because it's part of who you are, part of your journey, and I really feel it would be beneficial to someone out there. And it's the topic of motherhood. Okay. I know that you've walked the path of longing for motherhood and struggling with getting pregnant. Many people may not know this about you, but I'd like for you to give a message to women out there who are facing similar heartbreak and uncertainty on their journey to conceive. From your experience, what would you like to say to them?
One of the things that I want to say is that I am a mother today to many, and it has nothing to do with me conceiving.
Mhm.
And that is my biggest honor today. The conception of what we have, of what motherhood looks like, it's a program that they set in our brains that we're supposed to conceive. We're supposed to have this family. We're supposed to have this white picket fence. And this is what our life should be. But the truth is that our life is what we want it to shape to be. And there are many mothers out there, mothers of pets, of dogs, of birds, of animals, of farm, you name it. And I understood that I was a mom before even understanding that I was a mom. My brother sent me Mother's Day cards for many years, and I never on Mother's Day, and I never understood why. I'm like, why are you always sending me a look? Look at the
Mm,
my conception at that point. That I'm like, why are you sending me Mother's Day?
mm,
Because he always looked at me as a mother figure, and
mm.
that was a role that I didn't understand that I was doing. Right? I didn't understand because maybe my life is to mother,
Nurture.
mother the
Be a
earth
nurturer.
and nurture to a lot of people. And I'm okay with that. And I accepted that and I understand that that is motherhood.
Mm,
Nurturing people is motherhood, you
mm,
know, and it's okay to grieve the fact that you can't conceive
mm,
because that was a whole process that I needed to grieve. I needed to understand only because I was programmed.
mm, mm,
Because the truth is, there are many kids out there that are looking to be loved, that are looking to be nurtured. And what is the definition of mother?
mm,
To me, it's it's a person that is willing to say yes, and that's it. Because there's a lot of people that are have kids that are able to conceive kids and feel nothing.
mhm.
It's our perception of what we think motherhood should look like. And that could look any way you want it to be. And there's no right or wrong way. And I understand that and I know that today, not because, I adopted my twins, but I understood that seeing my brother sending me Mother's Day cards because I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Someone else was seeing me that way before I thought that I needed to birth something in order to be seen or to be felt that way. I never felt that I was that to my brother. But once again, if he feels that way, that was my biggest privilege. So,
Mm.
anyone out there, have grace with yourself and understand that motherhood is whatever you want it to be. And there are many kids out here looking for love, looking for understanding, and that could be you if you want it. You have to want it, not because it's a trend and not because we're programmed. It's because something that you really want.
I'm touched by that. Thank you again. Ah, okay, one last question.
Yes.
One last question, and this question is for those who have been on quite a journey in life. Doesn't matter where you are, at what age, what you've been through. Trauma, relationships, motherhood, abuse, whatever it may be. There's a point in time where you look back at your younger self and you wish that your younger self now would tell you something. And this is what I want to ask you, Gigi. If your younger self could see who you are right now, showing up in the world with the purpose and the power that you have, what do you think she would say to you?
Thank you. Thank you for going back and rescuing me. Thank you for going back and giving the attention that we both needed to be who we are today. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for never abandoning me. Thank you for working on me. And thank you for all the beautiful letters and toys you allowed me, that even though I was an adult and going through that healing stage, you allow me to have. Because the biggest gift that we have is ourselves.
That was a message from my younger self to me, too. Your words touched me so deeply that it felt that it was me. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me, for having this heart to heart talk. And yes, we had some questions that we needed to cover, but there was just so many subjects that we can talk about and help anyone on their healing journey from whatever it is. And that's my aim, my intention with this podcast. People to come on a journey with us, right? On the healing train. where we talk about these uncomfortable subjects and open the opportunity to heal our wounds and help us show up differently. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to close this episode with another post that you've written sometime last year that also touched me. And I'm going to close with this. And hopefully, you and I will have another talk on the Healing Train podcast. Thank you, Jiji.
Thank you.
Allow yourself to be afraid of making mistakes, but don't let fear paralyze you. Instead, celebrate those missteps. They are lessons in disguise, teaching you what to avoid and shaping you into the person you are meant to be. This is the essence of living authentically and passionately. So stand tall and say it out loud. I am here to fight for what I believe in. With every challenge you face, you are not only forging your path, but also inspiring others to do the same. The spirit of perseverance is at the heart of your journey. So embrace it fully. Keep moving forward and let your light shine brightly as you carve out your space in this world. Remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. Say it out loud. Jiji. Before you hop off the train, if something in today's ride stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Hit follow and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Want to dive deeper or have a topic you'd love us to explore? I'm all ears. Drop your questions, thoughts, or suggestions. We're in this healing journey together, and your voice matters here. Just drop a message to guest@healingtrain.ca. I am listening. And until next time, keep on healing you and keep riding with me on the healing train.